Good day, everyone. My name is Tori Giffen. I am the Assistant Director of Online Programs here at the College of Education. Thank you all for joining us today on April 2nd, 2026, for a Trauma-Informed Education Programs information session. We are very thankful to have Lynn Burdick here, who is from the program, to talk a bit about the program as well. We also have myself and some others from the College of Education online programs that will be able to answer some questions and sharing some information in the presentation. Just to shout out some of those people in case they're answering some questions for you. We will cover some staff information later. But we'll have Brianna Davis will be here in the chat shortly. Gina Puff is here in online programs, and Sangeeta Kapala Christian is also here from online programs. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with more specific program information. Just while we're getting started, just a reminder, please keep yourself muted. If I catch it, I will try to mute you until the end. We will have plenty of time for Q&A. This session is also being recorded as a reminder, so if you get interrupted, this will get sent to you afterwards. A bunch of you have already confirmed that you have audio in the chat. While we're going through some of these first slides, please feel free to introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from or why you joined us for this session. So again, we're here for the trauma-informed education programs. Why you're interested in this degree. We'll be talking about the master's program and a couple other programs also that are related. And the purpose of this session, learn about the eligibility, the structure, admissions, and career paths for the TIP master's program, which is the Trauma-Informed Practices and Pedagogy program. We refer to it as TIP very commonly instead of going through all of the long words. We'll also share some other learning opportunities in trauma-informed education. If you have any other programs, questions about other programs, or questions that you forget to ask or anything like that, you can always reach us at onlineprograms@education.illinois.edu. Happy to answer those questions for you. So just real quick, just cover some of the staff. I did introduce some folks, but you can see some of their pictures here on the screen. Again, we have Gina Puff with us, myself, Tori Giffen, Brianna Davis, and Sangeeta Kapala Christian here. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Lynn for a bit.
Thanks, Tori. We're going to talk to you today about, as Tori mentioned, several programs that are available. I know the focus today is on TIP, but we do want to let you know a couple other possibilities for you. This is what we call the TIP staff. I am Dr. Lynn Burdick. I'm the Director of Trauma-Informed Education. Dr. Catherine Kaur is an Associate Professor in Special Education. And Dr. Mia Chudzik is our instructor. She is in curriculum and instruction and special education. As Tori mentioned, we're going to look at these three programs. There's a QR code on the screen if you'd like to get more specific information about the trauma-informed content course. Or about the ISB micro-credential, you can go to this QR code as well as information on the online master's program. It'll take you to the program descriptions for all of these with that QR code. So I'll just give you 1 second to grab that quickly and then we'll move on. So the first course that's available is an open content course that's delivered through Coursera in partnership with the University of Illinois. This actually is a free program if you just want to gain the information. If you need evidence of completion for CPDUs, PDHs, then there's a $49 fee to get that verification. But you can go through it free of charge to just get the content information. There are I'm sorry, Tori, go ahead.
Oh, yep. Just jumping in real quick. It's low cost program, so it depends on different things you're doing in the Coursera platform of whether you have full access for everything or not. They've had some slight changes and stuff like this. The first module for the program is completely free. So
Thanks, Tori.
yeah.
Appreciate that input. There are 4 modules, and those modules cover the prevalence, impact, and manifestations of trauma, as well as trauma-informed supports. It's a very broad overview, and again, it's offered through Coursera. That's good, Tori. Thanks. The next one is a micro-credential, which is an ISB construct. This is in trauma-informed education, and ISB has a bunch of micro-credentials available. We're the only ones here at U of I that have one in trauma-informed education. These are self-paced modules. Everything is asynchronous. It's about 20 hours of content and it's delivered through videos and activities. When you complete those 20 hours, you will earn a designation on your professional educator license that says you have additional study in trauma-informed education. And you will also be eligible for 20 hours of professional development with successful completion. We're the only ones in the state that have that, and it's a little more in-depth information on trauma-informed education, its connection to restorative practices. There's a law that has a whole bunch of requirements that we be working with students on, and this ISB microcredential touches all of this stuff that ISB requires, that the state requires in that law. Thanks, Tori. The big focus today is on our education master's degree with a concentration in trauma-informed pedagogy and practice. And the TIP, as Tori said, we call it TIP. The TIP program is designed for education professionals who want to learn about the impacts of trauma, about the incidents of trauma, what the manifestations may look like in our students, and then how we can support kids who are experiencing those impacts in our classrooms and more broadly. This program is fully online. It addresses the critical issues of teaching and learning in diverse settings, as well as the focus on trauma-informed education. It is cross-disciplinary. There are courses in curriculum and instruction, special education, and in ed psych. It's a total of 32 credit hours, as most of our online programs are, maybe all. Tori, you'll be able to help me with that. It has required and elective courses that total 24 hours in trauma-informed education, in foundations courses, in ed policy, organization and leadership, and in education psychology. Sorry. Some other requirements of that Ed Masters in curriculum and instruction are that 12 hours of the coursework that you take has to be in a 500 level course. Two of our core courses are 400 level, but 12 hours have to be in 500 level courses. The restrictions that we put on master's candidates are an expectation that the degree be completed within 5 years of first registering and seeking this degree, or starting this degree, I should say. So this program prepares our students that are in careers like educator, social worker, a program coordinator, programs where people are child advocates or mental health professionals in educational settings. The one thing I want to be very clear with is that this is not a licensure program. This does not yield an endorsement or initial licensure in trauma-informed education. There's currently no such thing, but it gives you background and knowledge to support your success in programs such as these listed on the screen.
Lynn, if I may,
Please.
just really quickly, another thing that we'd really like to emphasize about this program is that in order to be successful and be able to complete all of the assignments and coursework for the TIP courses specifically, it is very important that you have access to a group of students. So whether you are currently teaching or you work in a little, let's say, a less conventional educational capacity, having access to students so that way you can employ some of the practices that are taught in your courses is very important. So I think that that's an important, not prereq, but an important thing to note if you're considering pursuing this program.
Thanks, Brianna. That's absolutely huge. And I thank you for catching that. We have had people in carceral settings. We have had people in Sunday school. We've had, as Brianna mentioned, more unconventional, and maybe that's not the right word, but other than classrooms, but you have to be able to try these practices for our core courses. Thanks, Brianna. I appreciate your jumping in.
And I will actually take it from here. My name is Brianna Davis. I'm the online student advisor. I work closely with Lynn to advise our students in the Trauma-Informed Practice and Pedagogy program. So as you make your way through the program, we will work with you to help with course selection and registration and additional questions that you might have. For admission to the program, you will need to apply by submitting a graduate college application. So all of our admissions are processed through the Graduate College, which is kind of the overarching body of the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Once you submit your application, the program will review your application and make an admission recommendation, and then that recommendation is sent to the Graduate College for official admission to the university. So if you are interested in applying, you will begin at the link below, choose.illinois.edu/apply, to begin that application process. In terms of upcoming application deadlines, we offer a lot of start dates for this program. If you are interested in beginning as soon as possible, our next application deadline is for April 15th, which is our summer A term. This term will begin in mid-May. If you are thinking April 15th is a little ambitious, we also have a May 15th deadline for summer B. Those courses will begin in mid to late June. If you would like to begin in the fall, which will have courses beginning in late August, that deadline is July 15th. And if you would like a little bit more time, you can begin in October with the September 15th application deadline. So we have a lot of different options. If you have any questions about these options, please let us know. But again, those applications for all of those terms are currently open at the link shown here. We undoubtedly get a lot of questions about tuition and financial aid. The current cost for this program is $538 per credit hour for online students. Now, tuition is subject to change. So for students who begin the program this summer, $538 per credit hour is the rate that we're looking at right now, but just please be mindful that tuition is subject to change. This price per credit hour does not include any textbooks or course materials that you might need to purchase, so keep that in mind as well. If you are seeking financial aid eligibility, full-time for financial aid purposes at the graduate level is 4 credit hours per semester. Full-time for other purposes is 8 credit hours per semester. However, we do encourage you to, if admitted to the program, touch base with the Office of Financial Aid if you are seeking financial aid, just to ensure that you are in compliance with all of the eligibility requirements, as these requirements also are subject to change. So it's always a good idea, whenever you are financially planning, to touch base with the Office of Student Financial Aid if you have questions about your eligibility. The Office of Student Financial Aid contact information is provided here. So if you want to contact them ahead of applying to the program, you're welcome to do that, and they would be happy to answer your questions. Just really quickly, I do see a question in the chat. It says, what are the costs for international students, and are there funding options available for this category of students? I will say that the $538 per credit hour is for both resident and non-resident students. So if you are an international student or an out-of-state student, you will pay the same tuition as students who are located here in Illinois. However, we do not currently offer any full funding opportunities or extensive scholarship opportunities for this program. We do have a limited online student scholarship that is available to our online master's students, and those are awarded on a semester basis based on faculty recommendations. We will reference your application materials for admission for consideration for that scholarship. But again, those opportunities are quite limited and they are not extensive. So most of our students in our online programs do fund their educations either through financial aid, through payment plans, or some of our students do have some sort of tuition benefit with their employer. So that's definitely something worth looking into as well, just to see if your employer might offer something like that. But for our international students, they will pay the same tuition and fee schedule as our resident students.
Brianna, I think now would be a good time as any. We also got a question on requirements. So students are required to have a bachelor's degree for the program, a 3.0 GPA, pay the application fee. What else am I missing here? They need to submit.
For consideration, you'll need to submit the application to the grad college. As a part of that application, you will need to submit 3 professional letters of recommendation. So those could be academic references from previous faculty members that you've had, or they could be professional work references. So supervisors, coworkers, those sorts of references are also acceptable. In addition to the 3 letters of recommendation, you will need to submit unofficial transcripts for admission consideration. If you are offered admission, you'll need to have final official transcripts sent to the graduate college to have on file. But for admission consideration and for the purpose of your application, unofficial transcripts are sufficient. In addition, as Tori mentioned, there is an application fee, and you will need to submit a personal statement. Usually that there's a prompt associated with that, but a lot of times people use that space to discuss their career goals, why they're interested in the program and that sort of thing. And then there's also an academic statement of purpose. And on that statement, students usually address, again, their interest in the program, but more specifically their research interests. So there are 2 separate statements that are required in order to be considered for admission to the program.
Thank you, Brianna.
Yeah.
So why choose education at Illinois? We are a top-tier research university. We are top ranked by U.S. News and World Reports year after year. We think we're pretty affordable when it comes to tuition. We have world-class faculty. The faculty you get in our online programs are the same faculty that teach all other courses here at the University of Illinois. We have online student engagement as a focus of the program. Brianna is our online student advisor. You also have faculty advisor and other staff that will assist you throughout the program, including those of us who are here in this presentation today. Because you're online, you get peers from all over the globe, all different backgrounds, and we have extensive resources for online students, including access to our world-renowned library here on campus. So applications are always open for our programs. You can select any of the deadlines that we mentioned earlier that are available for applications. You can apply to the links here that you see on the screen. And if you have any questions, you can email us at onlineprograms@education.illinois.edu, and we are happy to answer those. But we still do have plenty of time to answer your questions live with us now. And seeing the group size that we have, feel free to type your question in the chat. We've been getting plenty of those, which has been great. Hopefully we have at least gotten answers to all of those so far. But you could also unmute yourself or raise your hand and ask a question, and we will be happy to answer that for you.
Tori, may I start out? There was a question in the chat that I got individually, and I just want to make sure everyone has the answer to that question. The question was whether or not this program has an early childhood focus. It does not. This question or this program is applicable to people who work with children from birth all the way to 18 and into adults. These are strategies, these are concepts that apply to every human, regardless of age. Some of the courses will specifically discuss trauma at specific points, what happens when trauma occurs in early childhood as opposed to later in life. So that those types of things are addressed. There may be a skew in terms of the content toward, I would say, K through 12, but there's nothing that isn't applicable to adults as well. And as I said, there are people in the program currently who are working with adults, and we've not gotten any feedback that the content is not applicable.
I also received a question that was sent directly to me, and I want to answer it in the group setting so everybody's aware. I have a question from someone regarding transfer credits that were earned in a previous degree program. Students can request to have up to 12 hours transferred from a previous institution into this program. There is a specific process for submitting that request, and those requests will not be reviewed until after the student has been admitted. So you'll first need to apply to the program, be admitted, and then from there we would have you submit what we call a graduate student petition, which is a formal request processed through the graduate college to have those courses considered for transfer. As a part of that process, you will need to have all final official transcripts on file, as well as submit a copy of each course syllabus in question. From there, the department will review that request to determine if your courses can be considered for transfer. Some stipulations, I will say they need to be graduate level courses from an accredited institution, and they cannot be applied to a previously conferred degree. So what that means is if you already earned a master's degree from another institution and those courses were applied towards that master's degree, we will be unable to consider those courses for transfer. However, let's say you started a master's degree somewhere and you did not finish, you could request to have those courses that have not been applied to another conferred degree applied to this program. We do not guarantee a particular outcome on this request. Sometimes students submit requests and they are able to transfer coursework in, and in other circumstances, depending on the course content, sometimes they are not approved. So we don't guarantee a particular request, but those requests would take place after you are admitted to the program.
Brianna, I had one more question. The question asked for examples of thesis projects that are being done for this program. The TIP program does not have thesis, nor does it have exam requirements for completion. There are projects during the program. I mean, during the courses, there will be mini projects, mini research type projects, but there is no formal thesis or exam requirement.
I see a question in the chat regarding English language proficiency. If you are an international applicant, it may be required that you submit evidence of English proficiency. However, you may also qualify for a waiver. So I'm going to put a link in the chat where you can take a look at the stipulations for qualifying for an English proficiency waiver. If you do not qualify, you will need to submit either TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo scores, and that information regarding minimum scores is also on this page. So I'm going to put that information in the chat. If you have additional questions about English language proficiency or eligibility for a waiver, please reach out to onlineprograms@education.illinois.edu, and we can certainly continue that discussion. There is no entrance exam score required in order to be considered for admission, so you do not need to submit GMAT or GRE assessment scores.
I do want to add, however, there is no doctorate available in trauma-informed education at this time. At least in an online program. Sorry, I should qualify that. There is no online option for a doctoral level degree for trauma-informed practice and pedagogy. Sorry, Brianna.
That's okay. I see another question. It says, is there a number of years by which the course credits must be applied before expiring? I'm guessing that this is in response to our discussion regarding transfer credits. To my knowledge, there is not a firm policy on this. However, as previously mentioned, these requests are handled on a case-by-case basis. So something that may be taken into consideration is when these courses were completed. So if you're interested in transferring credits and you're interested in this program, I would certainly encourage you to submit your request to have those credits transferred and see what comes of it. You'd be remiss not to do so. So I would encourage you to submit that request, but just know that these are handled on a case-by-case basis and we're unable to guarantee a particular outcome.
Christy, this program is not an endorsement program. There is no endorsement in the state of Illinois for trauma-informed education. It is a master's degree that supports educators who are trying to help kids who've experienced trauma in educational settings. No, in their educational settings, help the kids.
One question that I did get asked, Brianna, is about grad certifications, graduate certificates. How do those credits, can they be applied towards this program?
Yeah, so presently our option within trauma-informed education is a non-degree graduate certificate option. Is that not accurate, Lynn? Do we have a green light on something else?
No, but that program was sunsetted with the grant that funded it. So the certificate is currently not available. Watch that program page for other potential options, but currently non-degree seeking would be an option, but a graduate certificate is currently not.
Excellent.
Do you,
Thanks, Lynn.
however, have graduate certificates in other programs
Yeah.
that those course credits can be applied if they're taken here at the University of Illinois. But
if you are interested in pursuing a graduate certificate outside of trauma-informed education, I do recommend that you reach out to us to discuss that first. The TIP program, the master's program, does have a somewhat rigid plan of study. So the courses that can apply to the master's program are a little bit more selective. So if you are interested in a grad certificate option with the hope of then beginning the master's program, we would want to talk to you a little bit more about that just to make sure that we're making good decisions on which courses we're taking. Alternatively, if you are interested in taking one of our trauma-informed education courses as a non-degree seeking student, just to get a feel for what the program is like, that could be an option. And I'm happy to talk to you more about how to apply as a non-degree seeking student if you're not quite ready to jump into the master's pool just yet.
thank you for that, Brianna.
William, there is not currently an option for a graduate certificate. Please watch the program page for future possibilities. There is a question in here that I missed, Tori. I remember seeing it and I don't. If you asked a question that I didn't answer, will you let us know? William, it may have been yours. Oh, the Teach grant. Do you mean a waiver that was awarded because of your participation in the Teach Academy?
No, can you hear me?
I can.
Sorry.
No
There's
problem.
as a teacher, there's Teach grants throughout the country for teachers, and it applies to master's programs. I was just wondering if this was one of them. Like one of my coworkers got the Teach grant through the University of Illinois for ESL, their master's in ESL.
Brianna, we looked at this. Do you remember what and it was not, this was not eligible. Do you remember why? Do you remember what was happening with that?
I'm not entirely sure. I believe the consensus was that this is not eligible for online programs. This is something that we
Oh.
could certainly look into to just confirm. If it is not online program eligible, we can certainly take a look and see where it might be eligible for master's programs at the College of Education, and we could connect you with our Graduate Student Services office who could provide you with additional information about your options. So, I guess the answer to that question is I don't know. But I do encourage you to reach out to us after the session is concluded, and we'll do our homework to get you a more concrete answer.
Okay, and I'm sorry I came in late.
That's okay.
Contact info in the chat somewhere.
I'm going to post it here again.
Thank you.
Natalie,
I do.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Lynn. Nope, we're trying to answer questions at the same time. You go first.
Thanks. Natalie, you asked about the fees for the micro-credential. In this pilot stage, the fee is $49. We don't see it going up to more than 99, but it is currently in a pilot phase.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks. I just registered. Perfect.
Oh, great.
Sellers. Yep.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
I do see a question that it was sent to me directly, Lynn, but I think that you might be better suited to answer it. It says, I work within an adult learning setting where I may not have control over curriculum delivery. Would that affect anything?
So it isn't actually curriculum that you would be asked to deliver. For example, in the core course in trauma-informed, in fundamentals of trauma-informed education, you're given a bunch of strategies that are considered trauma-informed strategies that support individuals who've experienced trauma. We might ask you to try a strategy, one of those strategies. It could be as simple as greeting the students at the door every day. And you would pick a strategy to try it. That's why you need the group of learners. But the choice of what to do with those learners would be yours in most cases within some defined context. And then you would try it in your context and let us know what happened. You just have to be able to use what you're learning with a group of some type of learner. Does that help? Does that clarify?
I think so. Thank you so much, Lynn. I think
Okay.
that's helpful. Yeah.
Okay, and if you have, Tori's going to give you our contact information, but if you have a specific situation you'd like to discuss, please just reach out to me and we can talk through it and determine which of these is your best option and whether or not your situation would be a good one for the full master's degree.
Just going back through the chat to see if we missed anything else, but if anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself and we can chat further.
And again, a reminder, because I think some of you said that you joined us a bit late. This session is being recorded and will get sent out to the email address that you used to register for the session. Usually goes out about 12 hours after the session's done for the video to process and things like that. So if you don't have it by tomorrow for some reason, please email us at onlineprograms@education.illinois.edu, and I can email you that link directly.
I did receive another direct question. It's asking about the diploma that is received for students who complete this program. Students who complete the master's program are awarded a diploma that reads Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction. And then on your transcript from the university, it would read Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction, concentration in trauma-informed practice and pedagogy.
Any other questions from folks? Really appreciate everybody's time in joining us this afternoon here. I understand it may not be afternoon for everyone, so but it's afternoon here.
I got another question. It said, I was planning to apply by the April 15th deadline, but knowing now that this semester would start in May, I'm not sure that I would be able to begin courses in May. Would you recommend applying later than April? The choice is ultimately up to you. However, if you apply by the April 15th deadline, it doesn't necessarily mean, let's say that you apply by the April 15th deadline for summer 26, you would have the option to begin coursework in either summer A, which begins in May, or summer B, which begins in mid to late June. So if you know that you would like to begin coursework in the summer, I would recommend trying to apply by the April 15th deadline if that's feasible for you, just because you could hopefully secure an admission decision sooner rather than later, which would allow you to register for courses sooner rather than later. However, if you're not prepared to submit an application by April 15th and you would like to begin coursework in June, you can apply by May 15th. So there's never harm in applying early, and I would encourage you to do so if that's an option. But again, if you're not prepared to submit an application by April 15th, we do want you to know that there are other application deadlines available.
Brianna, if I could just make sure that this statement is correct. You're the expert. If they applied for a summer admission and then just were not ready to do it, admission can be deferred to fall. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Students can defer admission for up to a year. So if you apply for summer admission, you could defer to fall 26 or even spring 27 if you wanted to. So it's entirely up to you. I would encourage you to apply for the semester in which at this point in time you would like to begin taking courses. But if your plans change, we can be flexible and defer your admission to a future semester. Good question, Lynn.
While folks are thinking of any other questions, I'm just going to launch our last poll to give us feedback on the session. Don't feel that you need to answer it now, but we would appreciate any feedback before you take off.
Brianna, I have a question for you. Can you hear me?
Sure
We
can.
can.
You can hear me? Okay, good. So I had, I think a year ago, had applied to curriculum and instruction, and it was for a certificate of sorts, which I didn't realize that and wanted to finish my stuff in master's. How do I go about switching that, or do I just start like a whole new application?
Amy, why don't you send me a separate email and I will take a look at your current record on file with us and see what needs to be changed. In short, you'll need to submit a new application to this program. I can talk to you about your specific circumstance separately, but it looks like you'll need to submit a new application for this program.
Okay, and should I just email you at the online thing or?
Yeah, you can email onlineprograms.illinois, or excuse me, onlineprograms@illinoiseducation.illinois.edu. I can do this.
Okay.
And then I will respond to that. I'm going to put the email in the chat so that way I hopefully didn't confuse everybody. But yes, you can just email that email address and I will respond.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? We've had a lot of really great questions from folks, both in the chat and people messaging us and asking them here. So yeah, just want to make sure that there's another call. And reminder, if you're watching this video back later, those of you, you also are more than welcome to email us at onlineprograms@education.illinois.edu and we will answer your question as well.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. With that, it sounds like we've gotten all of the questions answered. Yes, Lynn, if you want to put your email, you could go ahead and put your email here for folks.
Okay, if you have a program specific question about TIP, I am very happy to talk with you about it. And my email is just albertic@illinois.edu, which I can't type at the same time I talk. But the online folks have the logistics of everything. If you have a course question, something like that, I'm happy to answer for you. If you have a specific situation, happy to talk.
Yeah. Thank you all again for tuning in to our information session here with online programs at the College of Education. We hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.